Good morning, folks. Welcome to the Dr. Kent Show. We have so much to cover, and I'm not sure what's more important to start with and what order to go in. But I guess the first thing I need to do is apologize for the error of my ways. I know that's kind of sounding trite. Let me see if I can get the light changed here. Okay, that I like better, but someday I'm going to get my glasses adjusted. Oh, heck. I don't know who I'm trying to impress anyway. Okay. Galco provided this to me. It's not my favorite copy, but I have it handy, and I don't know where the other one is with the red, white, and blue on it that's got different asterisks and notes in it, but I have been mistaken. So we're going to cover my errors immediately right now. Let's just get it out of the way. And by the way, this is going to be the 18th show, and I was prepping. I told you, whenever I prep, things don't go very well. Well, the problem is I found out I was wrong. So I'm not real happy about that, and I don't have it worked out at all. I mean, I don't understand what really is going on, what really happened. And here I am trying to hold myself out as some expert on the Constitution, and I haven't sorted this out. The 18th Amendment, this is the 18th show, so I'm trying to keep it in order. And there was no recording yesterday. I was busy with my own stuff. I'm coming down with a cold. There's several things which I'm trying to take care of, and I just got to take care of my own stuff. So I need to get a little bit more light on the subject. But I am not up to speed when it comes to the 18th and 19th Amendments. I have made the errant assumption, and I don't know, maybe it still holds somehow, but I don't know how it would from the notes in this book. I made the errant assumption that when women were given the right to vote, they voted for prohibition, which in turn resulted in organized crime, including across the border with Canada. And, well, the Kennedys were running alcohol too. So we had a lot of bootlegging going on. And then we had the biggest organized crime of all, which was the formation of the FBI. Well, the FBI actually was started before, but maybe it wasn't named until then. The predecessor for the FBI was 1913, like a lot of good stuff that happened to this country. And it turns out, by the way, that the 17th Amendment was ratified April 8th, 1913. That was well in advance of the Federal Reserve System. The Federal Reserve System got shafted. We got shafted with that on Christmas Eve of that year, if I recall correctly. But don't trust me. I don't trust my memory, for one. And for some reason, I've got wrong data, wrong thinking. The 18th Amendment was ratified January 16th, 1919. And it was repealed by the 21st Amendment December 5th, 1933. Well, look, in my strategic intervention, the original 13th Amendment, this all goes by the wayside. It's out of order. It's unconstitutional, illegal as hell, and we need to return to what the founders gave us, which was the original 13th Amendment, which was overwritten by Abraham Lincoln because it took him out of office. It'll be called titles of nobility and whatever, something like that. And that's not the proper way to look at the original 13th Amendment. The original 13th Amendment was the separations of powers, which, of course, when you look at the shit show in Washington, D.C. today, where they're arguing about a speaker, they don't have proper separation of powers. And the Congress hasn't done its job since the 1980s. I don't think they've got enough budget done on time. But a large part of that is we don't have honest money. We don't have a constitutional currency. They robbed us of it. The Congress did that. The Speaker of the House of the Congress gave in on that and gave them that Federal Reserve System so he could become Secretary of State. And he was really disappointed in the deal he made later on. He destroyed this country along with Woodrow Wilson, who got caught in a honeypot with Mrs. Peck. Mrs. Peck and her husband set him up on behalf of the Rothschilds so they could jam that down his throat. And he even's on record, famous quote, how he has ruined his country. So this is what it's come to. It's taken a long time for them to take us down this far, but these jackasses move really slow, and they're very dangerous. And if you haven't figured out this is a fight between good and evil, if you haven't figured out that this battle started in the Garden of Eden, or maybe before that, then, you're living under a rock. And a rock was used by Cain to smash the brains of his brother Abel, his half-brother Abel. So I've been blaming you ladies for foisting off prohibition on us. Still could be right. I just don't know history well enough. So that's something you'll have to investigate, and I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm a bit confused, because it was the 19th Amendment that gave women the right to vote. Now, here's another little tidbit which you need to know, is there was a woman who early in the 20th century, before the Roaring Twenties, so that would have put her in the teens, and I'm going to take a guess 1911, but I'm not sure about that. Eustace Mullen tells us that a woman named Alexandria came from Russia, or maybe at that point it was the Soviet Union. But she came from there. She toured the United States, primarily East Coast. And she was a rabble-rouser, rousting up American women for women's rights. That was a problem. That was the beginning of the destruction of the family, if not, maybe they had targeted sooner with other operations and programs, but that was pretty bad. The 19th Amendment, the right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex. Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. That was ratified August 18th, 1920. What I need you to understand is that this was a major mistake. No, not giving women the right to vote specifically was a major mistake. But this was a major mistake because in the original documents, there was no right to vote given to anybody, not even to the men. The voting was done at the state levels. It was up to the state governments to conduct the elections. So that was all done under state laws. And we were considered citizens of our states. But now here we go, citizens of the United States. By Amendment 19, they had screwed us up pretty badly. So, Amendment 18 was the prohibition. I'm going to read it, and it was ratified January 16th, 1919. So it was the year before. And I know that the temperance movement was a woman's movement. And I know that the famous cartoons and drawings were of women with not hatchets, but axes, busting up kegs and stuff. And then I guess, some reason or other we decided we were going to prohibit alcohol. And we had a prohibition on cannabis, on marijuana, that never should have occurred, by the way. That was given to us by the pharmaceutical industry so they wouldn't have competitors, and they found out, they knew it was good for us and kind of a necessary part of our diet. It actually, I believe, I'm going to say this and qualify it, was part of the anointing oil, was cannabis in the Bible, along with some other materials. And we do know that a lot of kids that have seizures, their seizures are stopped by one drop of cannabis oil. Now, if that's not proper treatment for that child, I don't know what is. And I think it's just absolutely horrible that these industries got together, and it's always been interlocking corporate boards that have been ruling over this country. And right now, in case you're wondering who's ruling over you, it's BlackRock. That yeah, that company needs to be totally taken down. They have put the screws to us in a big way. There's a couple other players out there. Vanguard is pretty bad as well, but they are running all this stuff down, and they're not going to succeed. I can already see how they're going to fail, but it is the culmination of the beast system. Amendment 18, Section 1, Section 2, Section 3. Section 1, after 1 year from the ratification of this article, the manufacture, sale, or transportation of intoxicating liquors within, the importation thereof into, or the exportation thereof from the United States and all territories subject to the jurisdiction thereof for beverage purposes is hereby prohibited. Section 2. The Congress and the several states shall have concurrent power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. That should have been reserved to the states by the 10th. Section 3, this article shall be inoperative unless it shall have been ratified as an amendment to the Constitution by the legislatures of the several states as provided in the Constitution within 7 years from the date of submission hereof to the states by the Congress. So I've been accusing you women of, once you get the right to vote, giving us prohibition. Still might be the actual effects of it. It might have been done by the women, and then later that was repealed, and they celebrated that we could have beer. So I'm going to give you that as my possible error. Now, I believe that the 13th Amendment, the Anti-Slavery Amendment, which Abraham Lincoln gave us, it's unconstitutional. I believe the original 13th is the law of the land, and it needs to be enforced and to the full hilt to get back to the separation of powers. For one, it puts the attorneys in their place, and if we can't agree upon that, then we don't deserve to be a country. Because if you're going to allow these different bodies to usurp authority, especially usurping authority from the Congress. Now, let me state this right now. This bullshit about it there being 3 co-equal branches of the government, that's bullshit they started in these public government schools. It's not 3 co-equal branches. Nowhere does it say co-equal, and nowhere do I read any equality at all. The smallest, least powerful of the 3 branches is the Supreme Court. And of course, their salaries are dictated by the Congress, and their appointments are dictated by the Senate. And by the way, it's not a lifetime appointment when you read this. It's may serve while under good behavior. And I believe that's in all aspects of their life. And if they're guilty of bad behavior, they need to be pulled from the court. And all those people down there in the court are guilty of some bad behavior of one type or the other. Especially the Chief Justice. He needs to go. No, I'm not advocating for doxing or any violence or any of that stuff. I'm just telling you that he should have been gone a long time ago. And now that his name shows up on the manifest to the Lolita Express to Epstein's Island, and he was a visitor a few times, apparently, he definitely maybe should be in prison for whatever crimes he committed over there. The word is he got his 2 children. There's some weird thing about the 2 children's and the adoptions and all that. So you need to understand he's not a man of good behavior. He needs to be gotten rid of. Supreme Court is the least powerful, and your president is your second least powerful. Your most powerful is the Congress. Power of the purse strings, which they totally screwed up. They've stolen from us using the banking system and the money magic. Every one of them is worthy of having their neck stretched, except for a handful or 2 at this point. And even the best of those guys down there, I don't like very much. I think the average housewife would do a better job managing the finances for the country. Of course, there isn't any more average housewife anymore. Those were gone. There used to be average housewives when I was growing up, but not in your day and age. I wouldn't call them housewives. They go everywhere but at home. So, I was wrong. The 18th Amendment, prohibition, and then the 19th Amendment, women got the right to vote. Now, nowhere in the Constitution does it say men have the right to vote. Barry Young brought that to the attention of his audience frequently. It turns out that he's part right. The 14th Amendment does mention men's right to vote. It mentions men. But the 14th Amendment was passed when the South was occupied and was not represented, so it's an illegal amendment, just like the 15th is illegal for the same reasons. And of course, the 16th Amendment was never even voted upon. But here, we'll turn to that. Might as well. We got it in front of us. Let's open it up. The 16th Amendment was ratified February 3rd, 1913, and I think that's totally wrong. I don't think they even voted on it. There was just an announcement of it. That's according to Stamper, the attorney who wrote Fruit of a Poisonous Tree, or is it Fruit from a Poisonous Tree? It's got a blue cover on it. It's paperback. I got my first copy off A-Books. Amazon would not cover it for the longest time. You really need to get that book and read that. They have screwed us so badly. This thing is so out of whack. I don't think it can be saved. I don't even know if we can do a reset. They certainly won't let us have a reset, and they're busy waging war around the planet in horrible ways. Okay, that's probably the big news of the day is they just increased the war with Russia. Apparently 6 of our HIMARS were used. They weren't just used, but apparently our military guided the HIMARS into Russia, and they hit a particular group, a concentration of soldiers. They must have been officers. There's more than 60 dead, and they're still digging up from the rubble. And they hit the building. They knocked down 2 of the HIMARS, and 4 of them got through. Then they hit that same building with 4 of these missiles, and they're $3 million a pop. So they spent about $20 million on that, going after that building and the men in there. They must have been high-ranking Russian officers. And Russia's making a big deal of it because they know it wasn't just American hardware that we gave them that caused that, which is an act of war. It was Americans guiding the thing to the place. So we are actually doing not just acts of war, we're at war with them. And so here's the real problem, and you need to understand this. Now, if you go to the Bible, the truth is in there. It really is. And you will see that there is talk about another Sodom and Gomorrah, not just the old original one that God nuked a long time ago. If you were tuning into the other channel that I have, Awakening Israel, you'd know that. But we found the city. We excavated it, and I realize I'm going to stop trying to repeat myself so much as if this is the first time you're tuning in, because most of you are probably kind of hardcore with me already, and you know all this stuff. But if you don't, when we got down to the destruction level as we excavated that big tell, that big hill, everybody's wondering what that big hill was out there. It was Sodom. They got down to the level of destruction. They didn't talk to each other for 6 weeks. It was that horrible what they saw. The bodies were oriented out from a blast center in the city. And they found a crystal when they took it to Sandia National Laboratories in New Mexico. The people at the laboratory demanded, "No, where the hell did you get this thing?" This only is formed at nuclear blast sites. So we know that God nuked Sodom and Gomorrah, and we also know from the major prophets that he's going to do that again. We are worse than Sodom and Gomorrah today. We are far more decadent. We don't do some of those practices that they did. That's in the book of Jasher if you want to know more about their character. I got to talk with the publisher. I want to bring that to market. I want to make some more money. I have bought more of these Bibles than I've sold, I'll be honest with you. The only people that are buying are people that are really pretty interested. It's not just that the average person doesn't want to do it. And unfortunately, that means you're going to stay ignorant and you're going to stay stupid. Because I'm going to tell you right now, the bad guys are using the Bible. They're reading the Bible and they're using it. It's like a playbook for this big game that's going on. It's like both sides work from the same book of plays. And they think that they're doing God's will, and they could be. I mean, when I read it, I see the Yahweh's will. He uses, the house of Israel screwed up, so he used the Assyrians. House of Judah screwed up, so he used the Babylonians. And then he went and destroyed those afterwards. So these guys that are illegally occupying the United States of America today, or created the United States of America, took away our republic, they're going to go down. And they also, by the way, they know that, which turns them into even more rabid monsters. And they're very eager for the destruction because they know that they can't avoid the destruction themselves. So they'd just as soon take us with them. That's their goal. And they are doing a genocide. It is a major genocide. And a lot of this is through the corporations like BlackRock. So we really do need to take those apart. In case you're wondering how to do that, you have to actually educate yourself first. I do not consider myself educated until I sat down and read the Bible a couple of times. And the third time I was starting to get it. So I'm not exactly an uneducated man. But I failed to read the Bible when I was younger. It was too much. There was too much there. Besides that, I could go to church on the weekends, and they'd tell me what was in it. They would never lie to me. Yeah, they are liars. By 1850, all the Bible translators, well, mine wasn't in existence then, all of them had been taken over, at least infiltrated by the evil ones, and the seminaries were also taken over by 1850, in my estimation. That's my estimation. You can do the research and prove me right or prove me wrong. At this point, we have screwed up things so badly that I don't think that there's any reprieve except for the good old one that happened in Nineveh when Jonah walked in there. Jonah preached about the destruction of the city unless they repented, and they repented. Even the animals wore sackcloth and prayed to God. Okay? You go read the book. It's short. It's simple. You need to understand Jonah didn't want the job. He didn't like the job. And he ran away from Yahweh. And Yahweh put a big storm out there, and the ship and the sailors were going to go down. And anyway, Jonah kind of volunteered. They want to know, what's with you? How come you're relaxed? I mean, you're sleeping. Why aren't you kicking in here? Aren't you worried about dying? Well, Jonah was a weird dude. He was a prophet, and he was above all that. He already understood what was going on and what he had done. And he told them, that it was because of him, and that if they wanted to survive, they needed to throw him in the ocean. And they did do that. And a few days later, he's puked up on the beach by a giant fish, maybe a whale, or maybe it was a ship itself, maybe even a submarine. We don't really know, but we do know this. He went to Nineveh and did his job as Yahweh directed him. And we know there's some specific stuff in the Bible where, Jonah complains to Yahweh, I don't want to do this. I don't want to help them. And Yahweh, he tells them basically, I have 100,000 people in Nineveh who don't know they're innocent, and they don't know their left hand from their right hand. Doesn't that sound like America today? Do we know our left hand from our right hand? Do we understand these jackasses in D.C. who put on these shows for us and actually work together as a union party? It's one big communist party. They're all crooks. There's only a few noble men down there, but even they tap into the largesse. They won't give us our government back. You know, I'm looking forward to the day we can turn Washington, D.C. into a museum and we can put on display all of the evil that's ever been done so that we can make sure it doesn't happen again. It's too bad about Arizona. I mean, it's funny as hell in a certain way. They're talking about, oh, this woman is now governor of the greatest state. Arizona's not a great state at all. Arizona's number 48 out of the states. It was the 48th state. It was the baby state, the last state, 1912. It really isn't a state. It's better understood and better regarded as a territory. Remember the Yuma Territorial Prison? Well, Arizona is just nothing but one big territorial prison. And that's their number one business. And they love to put the screws to people because they make money off it. You see, during the COVID thing, the hospitals were given so many $1,000s for every COVID test they administered. I think it was like $2,000. It was a bounty, if you will. And then if they gave somebody a COVID diagnosis, they got $13,000. Then if they put them on, intubated them, put them on one of those wonderful things that, that they criticized Trump for not getting there fast enough. Turns out they were just killing people with that stuff. They intubated them and popped them open, and shoved a tube down there and put too much pressure in their lungs. They sped up their deaths or assured their deaths, and they got paid $40,000. $50,000. It was all a bounty by the king, by our central government, the king. Just like during our Revolutionary War, the king put a triple bounty on long blonde hair. He went after our women. And then there was a double bounty on all other colors of long hair. He went after the women. And then there was the standard simple bounty on a man's scalp. Genocide. They've been doing this for a long time. They're real good at it. They're experts at it. They actually genocided the Ukraine. 10 million people. They did it not once, but twice, is my understanding. 20 million people. And by the way, they took away the ammunition for 4 years before they went in and did that stuff. Sounds just like what's happening in the United States of America today. It's clear in the Bible that we are headed to be nuked, and we will be burned from one end to the other end, and the world will look in abject horror at what has happened to us. That is something that I may be living to see. I don't want to see it. You don't want to see it. Can we get Yahweh to repent of that evil that he's planned for us? Of that evil that we deserve in the name of justice? There is no justice in the United States of America. There's no truth in the United States of America. It's all a bunch of lies and frauds. They're liars and thieves. They set up this system to destroy families and destroy everything and to deprive us of our property. If we had property rights, then they couldn't tell us what to do with our property. But they do that all the time. They do it under the guise of equal opportunity. They do it under many disguises. But if it's your property, then why can't you do with it what you want? You can't. You don't own it. They've already taken it away. They keep talking about the Great Reset in which you're going to own nothing and you'll be happy. You're already there. You are owned by some corporation. They trade, they bond your birth certificate, my birth certificate. Those are traded on the market. There's millions of dollars behind each one that are held in trust for us. They never tell us about the trust, so they can rob us and take advantage of us, and we don't get any advantage of it at all. We are in the beast system. This is the culmination of all of those systems. Pharaoh contributed to it. Babylon contributed to it. Rome, Greece, Alexander the Great. It's all contributed to this. And in case you're wondering, most of you don't understand this, but we are one of the heads, three heads of that eagle, that what I can tell. So we're looking at World War III, and we're looking at a weird time. I have posted on my blog, givingpsychologyaway.com, the seer from South Africa's, the papers about him and his prophecies. I have read halfway through the long version, all the way through the original initial 13 pages. I'm not satisfied with this collection of his prophecies. I don't think it's anywhere near complete. I think there's some critical things left out, especially regarding the United States of America, and that's what I'm looking for. However, in the long version, I see that the war comes through Alaska, my state. I don't like that very much. I also see that that the United States is attacked and that we will never be a superpower again. I don't like that much either. But that's what those jackasses in D.C. want to do. You need to understand something. You're waking up. People are waking up, and they can't have you do that. They can't have you do that, because once you realize who they are and what they are, and once you realize who you are, they know that you're going to put them down like the rabid dogs that they truly are. And don't try to look at them and think that you can understand them and that nobody would ever do that stuff. Dr. Kent, they'd never do that. That makes no sense at all. Well, you need to understand something. You don't need to make sense of it, but if you want to make sense of it, then read the Bible. This little battle started in the Garden of Eden when Cain bashed his brother's brains out and murdered him. We are two warring factions on the planet, and it's a family squabble. We got the sons of Cain, the bad guys, and we have the sons of Seth, who took Abel's place once he was murdered. All the rest of the people on the planet, and there are several other groups, we all didn't come from Adam. That's not biblical. If you read the Bible enough and press in, you'll understand. And you'll understand there's a lot more that we don't understand, okay? But you need to understand that this is in the Bible. It's all there. And the bad guys use the Bible as a playbook. And they want to be God, so they play God. They give us whatever it is God says he's going to do to us, they do it to us because they want to take God's place. And they're also working for him, but they don't know it yet. They're going to find that out. Well, we covered my mistake. We covered the war that's going to... It could bust out any day or even in the next few hours. What I was telling you about the seer of South Africa is that it's pretty clear from the prophecies, his visions, and he passed away in 1926. It's clear from his visions that right now Russia's the good guy and going to win this. And if we look at it carefully, what we see is that Russia stops being the good guy later on. But Russia, as the good going on the planet today, wins this one. So, and the other thing is that it was Russia combined with several other of the neighbors that drove off the Khazarians from their homelands. And the Khazarians went west. Most of them went next door into Poland, some went up into Lithuania. But they were pretty much distributed across the face of the earth, and a large number of them came to America. And they have taken us over from within. And if you don't understand world history yet, there's a picture on my blog, and that is world history in one picture. And you will see the three emblems, including the emblem for the ancient god Molech, and the symbol for ancient Khazaria that they went to war under, and the symbol for modern Khazaria, if you will, or for the Ukraine today. It's the same symbol. A little variation. but not much. Go take a look at it. That should explain things to you. Now, as far as the people of Molech, there's been a bunch of real bad identity theft and identity confusion. On the larger scale, the evil ones have pretended to be the chosen ones. Well, remember, Satan wants to rise on high above God, be Yahweh. Anyway, I try to get that thought back again. It's early in the morning. I've got some phlegm in my throat. I think I'm going to be fighting a cold. I've got a lot of stuff to take care of, and I've got to get on to that. And I'm not sleeping very well tonight, and that's all right, because I'm motivated to get up and do this work, do this job for you. There's another identity theft that occurred, and what the heck, that slipped my mind just completely. Well, we have got in this nation a group of people that have taken it over, and it's not a very big group. And we also have what is being, all right, fine, this is what's on my mind. Here we go. We have what's being called a New World Order. I dispute that. I don't think that it is a New World Order. I believe it's the Old World Order repackaged and marketed, brought forward, marketed, and sold to us as a rotten bill of goods called the New World Order. I believe it's the Old World Order. And what we have are interlocking corporate boards. If we look at the people who are on those corporation boards, they're on several boards. And so the group that's taken a stranglehold on America and the earth today is actually a very small group. It's not very large at all. So we can easily throw the yoke off once we wake up. So that's why they want to nuke us. That's why they're working as hard as they can to genocide us now. And it's a proactive thing. And if we look carefully, a third of us get wiped out from the pestilence. That's what it says in Revelations. And then after that, another third of us get wiped out. And it could mean 2/3 of us leaving a third, or it could mean, if you look at it and take the first third and then take a third of the last 2/3, that you could end up with just about half of people making it and half not making it. We also have the end of the earth age, and that's specified in the Bible as well. And we're fast approaching that. And during this particular transition, it's not going to be as bad as the previous one, but it's going to be really bad for everything on the surface of the planet and in the planet too, because the electrical storms are just outrageous. Now, what you might not know is that menorah is not a Jewish symbol. They got that symbol. They got that symbol from earlier sightings of that symbol in the sky. And there were pictures of that in the caves all around the planet done about the same time, about 12,000 years ago. And so that menorah is one of the plasma displays that the survivors of the last earth age, the last rebirth of the earth, the last destruction of the earth and recycling of it, it's pretty much what it is, they saw that in the sky. And they put it on the cave walls. So it predates the Jewish faith by, let's say, 12,000, well, not quite 12,000 years, but the Jewish faith proper, the Jews say, according to the Jewish Encyclopedia, their faith didn't exist properly until the Babylonian captivity. So somewhere after 722 BC, before 650 BC, you had the Jewish faith. That's when that appeared. And the menorah is actually the plasma display of what's going to be going on with the electrical discharges and all that in the surface of the earth and in the air when all this stuff goes down. You see, this place is designed to recycle itself and keep going on forever. And the earth is getting larger as time goes on. The year is getting longer as well. Used to be 360 days. Now we're, 365 in a few hours. And by the way, the rotation is speeding up right now as we're getting ready to go into this transition. It's just milliseconds faster, but when you're as big as we are, that makes a big difference in all the mechanical aspects of this thing. So I think that what we're headed for is destruction of everything electronic on the surface and inside the surface. So it all gets obliterated and destroyed rather fully. And then we, the survivors of it, that is, get to recreate things. And I do think the evil ones have survived several Earth ages. If you want to understand an Earth age, you have to look to one of those books that was removed from the Bible. And I want to get it back in the Bible. So here I go. I got to hawk my words, but I got to ask you a favor. Please like the video, comment, share the video. Go down and hit that link down below and buy one of the Bibles. I've got that pulled up right now. My prices provided to me and to my audience are the cheapest prices anywhere. There are 5 different formats available, anywhere from $39.77 all the way up to $57.77. That's the large print black with the tabs. If you're new to the Bible, or if you know somebody that is new to the Bible, that's what I recommend. Or you can get them the regular print brown with the tabs for $47.77. I think the large print makes a better family Bible. It is bigger though. Print is huge. And you can get the large print brown for $52.77, which is what I have. It was on sale at the time I bought it. I paid regular price for mine. I urge you to get one of these, and I urge you to email, and you can actually call up and order, the Bibles on the phone. Just make sure you're getting one that ends in 77 cents. Then you know it's that I get credit for it, and you know that you're getting the lowest price anywhere. I need you to get on a list. The list is, you want the Apocrypha when we can do it. In other words, I need to get a list. I don't think I'm going to be able to do it, but I'm going to pray about this because I really want a modern version of the Apocrypha. The Protestants took the Apocrypha out of the Bible. They saw fit to do that. Major error. Major mistake. The Apocrypha will tell you about the original Christmas. They'll tell you who it was that actually burned the temple. It wasn't quite as generic as we thought, but our enemy, the enemy of the Israelites, came in and burned the temple. And that's an important thing for you to know. It tells you the order for those who have passed away and not made it. There's 7 bullet points, basically, in terms of their condemnation. And then you've got the order for those who make it, and there's 7 bullet points for that, and that's basically that indicates their rewards. And so that's an important thing also that shouldn't be removed. Also, there's no marriage license in the Bible proper. However, in the Apocrypha book of Tobit, there's a love story in it with some odd twist to it. There's some drama to it. And it's a pretty short book, but it does mention a marriage contract, and that's the first marriage contract that I know of anyway. And so that's, it's an interesting book. You have the book of Esther continued, and there's a couple of versions, extensions of that. I think one was in Hebrew, the other one was in Greek. You have Daniel's story in terms of how he basically started as a prophet, what happened beforehand, and how he was discovered in his talents. There's a little bit in there on that. The Maccabean revolt and the Maccabean wars are in there. That's important to know. And then you have the beast system, which is further viewed in visions that Daniel had, and some visions that Daniel didn't have, and things that weren't explained to Daniel are in there. And that's pretty important. and you will find in there that this three-headed eagle gets burned from one end to the other. So the three-headed eagle might be a worldwide thing. So this nuclear war may actually cover everything on the whole planet, or most of the power centers for sure. And or it could be just the United States that gets nuked. You know, we've tossed our weight around. We're not liked out there at all, in case you're wondering. As far as respect, how do you respect somebody you fear? You can't. So we have absolutely no respect. We did have respect back when Trump was president. Isn't it horrible how we've been deceived, how they've lied to us, telling us that once we get Trump out of office, we'll be respected again? And look at this war. I'm sure you think, well, we're just trying to fight Russia. You would never think, my God, they're after us. Yes, they are. Your own Department of Defense has been doing war on you. All of these high-tech companies are out of the Department of Defense. As a matter of fact, some of your medical treatments, which we're not allowed to discuss anymore, that's all out of the Department of Defense. I don't regard Trump as highly as you do, because he's not an agent of Yahweh's. He doesn't know Yahweh at all. He doesn't know him. If you know him, send my video to him, and let's lay the gauntlet down here. He needs to get on his knees and start praying to Yahweh, because he's going to need it. He's got one hell of a future coming. And if we're lucky, we've got it as well. I wish that they would just make him Speaker of the House, but I realize that, you know, he doesn't know the House well enough to do that job, and I still think that I'd like to see him as Speaker of the House. And people are trying to force it on Jim Jordan. He doesn't want it, and with great wisdom, he knows what he wants to do. I had a friend who ran as vice president. I lost track of him for quite a while and just talked to him in this last year. I didn't even know he'd run a ticket for with a presidential candidate. And he knows stuff that I had no idea he knew about our Constitution. And the position of the vice president is actually more powerful when it comes to this nation than the position of the president. The vice president can do things the president can't even touch. If I was to be president, I'd want Dave for vice president. For one, I know he'd kick my butt. He'd make sure I was doing the right thing. He would never be afraid to go toe-to-toe with me. He'd be honest. He'd be right in my face on stuff if I wasn't thinking right. But hopefully he'd be patient enough to explain things, because I'm getting slow in my old age. But he would be a wonderful, wonderful president as well. That's another reason to make him vice president. Folks, we do need to go back to the original invention our founders gave us. There's no way else around it. If we don't agree to that and start chopping down this central government and start empowering the states once again, and putting organic governments in the states and not these corporations that are in there now, if we don't get rid of the corporations, then we're screwed. The founders never would allow corporations in the country because they knew what corporations did across the planet. What, the East India Company, the East India Trading Company. There were a few corporations that the Crown authorized that wreaked havoc across the whole damn planet. And in case you're wondering, all corporations come underneath the big corporation in Rome. I love that part of the Bible where it says all these hidden things are going to be known, and there's a lot to know, and it's coming up to the surface so fast I can't keep up with it. I think I covered everything that I wanted to cover. This is the 18th show, the 18th Amendment. I don't know what I'm going to be covering on the other channel. As you know, I fly by the seat of my pants. I think I did okay today. Let me know. It's probably not as sharp and it's not on subject as what I wanted to do, but these I'm getting to be an old man, so cut me some slack. I got to cut myself some slack, actually. Well, may Yahweh bless, and may we get our republic back. You know, I used to consider the Constitution the third most important document after Old Testament and New Testament. And then I realized it was the Declaration of Independence that was more important than the Constitution. It was not a rebellion against the king. It was a war of self-defense. Yahweh blesses self-defense. He does not bless rebellion. All this shit show that's in D.C., you can blame that on the people that came over here and took us over. Sure you can. But that wouldn't do you any good. Where's the real problem? You and I are the real problem. We fail to read our Bibles. We fail to turn to Yahweh. We fail to pray for guidance. You need to understand something. Yahweh understands a man better than any of us can. I can't understand a man anywhere near. I mean, I couldn't even put an approximation on it. It's way under 50%. Okay? Way down there. Probably might even be as low as Congress's approval rating. Pretty low. But you and I are the problem. We need to read the Bible and call upon the name of Yahweh. Where is my Bible at? We need to learn his name and call upon his name, and you're going to get to know his name and get to know the truth much better by getting this. So, I think the Constitution was a document given to us by Creator Father God. Yes, I do. I also believe, so that would be the fourth most important, after the Declaration of Independence. However, I've discovered also that we have some extra biblical books that are important. There are 36 books mentioned in the Bible that are not in the Bible. And we need to be able to get those. And we can't get them all. But we need to be able to get those. We need the 14 books of the Apocrypha. So do me that favor, please, and call my publisher. Ask him to take your name and number and put you on the list for the Apocrypha. We need lead time. I thought it's going to be 2 years. I thought, well, maybe I'll get to see this through, and that might be my life's mission. Oh, no, we can actually do it in 6 months once we set our mind to it. So if I get 5,000 committed to the Apocrypha, then we can do it. And by the way, the family that publishes these is eager to do it for us. And they're in beautiful Russia, Belarus. And yeah, what's really weird is I know we're not supposed to be able to do anything with them and do all this trading and stuff, but we do that. And of course, all of these weapon systems that are sent over there, our own Congress doesn't even care to account for them, yet they want to register guns? What the hell? They don't register their guns. And then I'm sure most of those are getting sold in the black market. I'm certain that most of these congressmen are getting their pockets lined. They did that with that FTX bullshit. And they're doing their best to take us over and take us down. We do not need to be the world's reserve currency anymore because it's phony money. We only need honest money, like was in the Bible and is in the Constitution. Gold, silver. Coin gold, coin silver, that should be our money. We don't need a damn reserve currency. They won't be able to steal from us anymore. They can't inflate that stuff because it's real and it's tangible. They'll try to convince you it's archaic and we need to go with blockchain and all that. That's not real money. I got suckered into that and I lost my ass on it. Okay, I didn't do very well. As soon as I can get my money back, take it out of that and I won't bother with that again. I know it's going to go popping up at some point, but who knows when. Same with gold and silver. Now, of course, everything could drop in value. And we've even got passages in here that talk about people taking their gold and their silver and tossing it in the streets. I don't think that part of Scripture has been fulfilled yet. What do you think? Yahweh bless America.